So kink is like this huge topic, right? And like you guys cover so much on your podcast, and like we've had some guests on ours who have talked about polyamory.
Okay.
But we haven't talked about like kink specifically. And I don't know if this is a good place to start, but
Yeah.
like what are some of the like early experiences you all had that like kind of like opened you up to this world? And sometimes it's like a thing of like, wow, I didn't know that that was a thing, but like I think I'm kind of turned on by it, like sort of thing. So like is there anything that sticks out for the two of you?
So I think for the both of us, which I know it's probably a little cliche, but we read 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh,
I know.
okay.
And this was back in like late high school, early college, I think it was.
Yeah.
And somewhere around that time frame. Anyways, and I read it and I was
Freshman
like,
year.
yeah. And I was like, I like this. And back then, back then I didn't explore it too much, like physically, but then like I started reading other books that had kind of like kinky themes in them, like a reverse harem fiction, fantasy fiction, like a lot of fiction books that had aspects of kink in them. But it wasn't until about probably 4-ish years ago that I actually started exploring it more. Kind of began with a partner that really enjoyed like very intense choking. And I love to be choked. I love impact play, those kind of things. So for me, and this is Niki here, by the way, because I know sometimes we sound a lot alike. But yeah, for me, once him and I kind of started playing with that, it really opened the door to like all the other things that I wanted to try out. And of course, like I kept reading books too. I would say like the like real exploration began about like a year and a half ago, when I just became a lot more forward about wanting to try some of these like kinky things. And now I feel like I've gotten to a point where like I really know what I like and enjoy, what I'm willing to explore. But yeah, it all for me at least began with books and reading fiction that got me turned on. And like I remember one specifically, there was a book, one of the characters liked knife play quite a bit. And I always talk about knife play, and I promise it's not my only personality
he talks about.
It's not my only personality trait, but like this guy in the book, this character really liked playing with knives. And so like him and the girl were having sex, and they like had a knife that they were playing with, like running it along the body, like sensation play, all these things. And as I'm reading it, I'm like, why is this turning me on? Like, I don't know why I like this. And so then when I brought it up to my doms, they're like, well, let's try it. And it was like Niagara Falls the second they pulled it out. Of course, it's like something I'm like, I only trust the two of them to do it. It's not like I would give that opportunity to anyone, but like it's really cool to like read about something, you know, it really like does something for you, and then eventually you get to try it out and you're like, yep, okay, this is a kink. So that was my experience.
I feel like there's so many questions within what you just said. But Cami, do you want to go first? How did you get into it?
Well, I mean, very like almost carbon copy like experiences Niki. So I was the first one to read 50 Shades, and then I gave the books to Niki. But I read the books, and then at the time I was with this partner. And I told him, I was like, I really want to try like some of the things in this book. Now, of course, like I was in college and like I didn't really know what I liked. My sex life literally began at 18. So I would have him like put me over his knee and spank me. And he thought it was so weird. I was like, just try it with me, like just a few times. So we gave it a shot. And yeah, he would put me over his knee. It was minor impact play. And then I was always the big reader. I loved books. And I was the one that introduced Niki to reverse harem fiction.
Yep.
I love reverse harem. There's just so many different like just facets of it.
Wait,
so
can you explain reverse harem for us? Can you define
yes,
it for our audience?
Yes.
Yeah.
So reverse harem fiction is basically I'm going to be a little bit of a nerd here. But it's basically like where you have like one girl and multiple dudes fall in love with her. Now, usually like for it to be called reverse harem, it has to be more than two. So it's not going to be like a triad or
like a love
Thor V.
triangle.
It's got to be like 3+ men. But I mean, you also couple in the fact that they're like saving the world. So, you know, it's like fantasy, or like they're all vampires, or maybe they're werewolves. And, you know, so, or they look, you know, like biting kinks, all that. So it can go like really deep, and I absolutely love it. So like, especially if it's like urban fantasy, high fantasy, epic fantasy, where it's like, you know, action and adventure coupled with a lot of hot sex, and it's, you know, 3, 4, 5 dudes and this girl, and they all love each other. And sometimes, and my favorite is when like some of the dudes in the harem are also in love with each other. So then there's like guy on guy play. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So that's how it got started for me. And then I would say about a year ago, I started seeing this guy, and we kind of like started out like top bottom, like heavy top bottom, and then we went into like dom sub.
To describe or to clarify the difference between like top, bottom, dom, sub. So like when you're in a topping or bottom situation, so obviously you have like the person on the bottom who's like receiving, and the person on the top. Doesn't have to be physically top and bottom, or like, you know what I mean? But and then the top is the one like giving. So, but the key here is the bottom is able to give the top instruction. So, for example, the bottom can say like, spank me harder, you know, do this, do that, whatever, and then the top takes those or does those commands, whatever that looks like. When it's more dom sub, dominance and submission, you kind of lay out the groundwork before you enter a scene, and then from there, like the dominant, you know, will do whatever they want within the boundaries that is laid out by the submissive, but doesn't necessarily take instruction. Like as a submissive, you're not giving instructions or anything to your dominant, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the sub just kind of complies, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Serves.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I'm a big service sub, so
Yeah. And I mean, there's different types of dom sub, like multiple kind of categories within that as well, because you have like master slave, you have like a daddy dom and a little girl, or you have
bratty
subs. Like there's a whole
pets.
Yeah, there's many ways that you can do dominance and submission. So yeah.
Okay, wait. Describe pets.
Okay, so pets
and both your faces.
It's just though it like, and actually Snapchat did an article on a dom sub pet.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to go look into that.
Like,
and it was
that's
actually
why
very
they created
interesting.
their filters, like their pet filters.
That's
No,
I don't know.
Like they did a story on it. You know how like Snapchat. Oh, I was like,
I
wait,
see
what?
that could be cute.
No. So as a pet, you have your master or your mistress or like owner, but it can go like, if you're like super heavy into it, like where you do it like 24/7. So people go as far as like cages and, you know, pet beds, you know, wearing
leashes, collar,
wearing ears, wearing tails,
Mm-hmm.
which butt plug tails are super fun. I
They're
have
so
a bunny.
cute.
I have a bunny tail butt plug that I absolutely love.
But pet play is kind of like
Yeah.
kind of tying into like you're personifying like a pet situation. So like you're a little kitty, or you're like a little puppy, and like your owner is taking care of you. So I think they can be very endearing situations. I don't have a lot of experience with pet play. I did meet a submissive once who liked to be like a kitten. And it was the funniest thing because like she would like just rub all over me and purr, and I thought that was like the funnest thing ever. Like she was just so cute in the way that she did it. But yeah, it just kind of plays into, you know, as your owner, they're taking care of you, and then as the pet, you're, you know, just kind of like in the way that your pets act, you know, whether they're nurturing or just obedient, those kind of things. So that's pet play.
You guys are cool as fuck.
Well, so, and like, here's what's so awesome too, to me, is like, I love that it started from like reading like fantasy for, you know, you two, and probably for a lot of people, right? Because like what we're talking about is just like imaginative play, right? And like when we have sex, like we're looking for like this feeling of connection and kind of like escaping ourselves and escaping our normal reality. And so if you're someone who is very like timid in life, like it would make sense in your fantasy life that you're like, yo, I want to like drag someone around on a leash and like, you know, or like whatever it is, right? And like vice versa, if you're someone who's always having to be in charge and like call shots and stuff, you're like, yo, can someone like spank me and like tell me what to do?
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of times you'll find the biggest subs out there are usually like leaders of the world.
Very dominant
Really?
people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. They're just tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, I guess like that's what I love about, and yeah, you're right. It is fantasy. And that's what I love about my subspace is in my subspace, the entire world just falls away.
Yeah.
And, my one focus is just, pleasing daddy. And it's, like, it's like escaping. It's like going
Yeah.
into another realm is how I would describe it.
Well, to your point, also what I was going to say, for me in my day-to-day life, I'm very type A. I'm very controlling, very
She
kind
is.
of dominant person. On top of that, I'm very fidgety. I always like to be moving. Like ask Cami, my leg is like constantly like
I'm
all the
always
time.
like, stop.
Yeah. And this is why I love knife play. I have to be completely still. Because when they're dragging like the knife along, because I don't want actual like cutting, like it's just a sensation of it, like the sensation of it being run along your body. And of course, I don't want it to cut anything. I don't do blood. So what I love about knife play, it forces me to stay still, absolutely still, and like cannot move a hair. So all my focus goes on that, and it just puts me into the space where like I forget all my anxiety, I forget all my worries of the day, like everything that is on my mind just like is absolutely gone. And I'm just like in this space where like A, it's pleasurable because I like the sensation of it. B, like I just feel like at peace and calm. And then C, I'm just like focusing on this thing that I'm doing. So it absolutely is like it takes you to a different realm. It's a fantasy world. And when you enter it with it's a space that you enter with someone, it can be very like intimate, nurturing, exciting, thrilling, healing thing. So yeah.
So some people like choose meditation to like
Mhm.
be still, and you're like, no, I want you to take a knife over my body.
I tried meditation. I cannot sit still during meditation. So yeah, this is the extent I've had to take it to.
I love meditation. I started meditating in January and it's like one of the best things.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I think of like when I meditate and then when I'm in my subspace and it's very similar in a way.
Mm-hmm. I can see
Like
that. Yeah.
the world
Well,
falls away. It's very nice.
Yeah, I mean, and I think like I feel like being able to sort of like take on a role or take on a persona and like fully like lose yourself in it is an incredible feeling. And like, so like,
Mhm.
why not do that? Right. And it's like, and I think for me, like I'm pretty vanilla too, but like, and I like enjoy like a little like light role play stuff, but like listening to you two, I'm like, why don't I just fucking go for it? Like that seems,
Do
like,
it.
just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go find a dominatrix.
Yeah.
See, and just explore a little bit.
Why do you assume that I'm the sub?
I'm not assuming.
Oh.
I mean,
but
I'm saying
No, I mean, you're
one
right.
of the best
I'm just-
ways
I'm
to
just
learn.
He's like, yeah, actually, yeah, I am.
I
the
am.
sub.
You're right. I'm just asking.
I sense the nurture in you. It's like
Yeah.
you want to be taken care of. I got you. But what
Is
I'm
that
saying is
true?
a dominatrix can at least she can show you how to do submission or how to do
yeah.
Well, so I will say that the sort of the submissive stuff that I've played with partners before that I've really enjoyed is kind of like it's sort of like tease and denial stuff and like a little bit of like like orgasm control stuff and like
Edge play. Yeah.
edging.
yeah, edging and like, but even like just like over time where it's like where if we're like fooling around or having sex and then like if my partner's like, yeah, you're not allowed to come today. And then that's fun because it's also like I'm like, how much do you want me to be like all over you? Because you can like it's like a dial. You can like dial up or down. Like if you really want me to like be like all up in your business, then like don't let me come for a while. And I promise I will be like pestering you.
You might like a chastity belt.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, have you guys ever like done like a cock cage with anyone or anything like that?
I had I don't know how to describe it. I had a partner that liked to wear a cage. I never put it on him. He like, and we didn't play with it too much. I just know it's something that he liked. We've interviewed someone that plays with the cage quite a bit. It's not somewhere I have a lot of experience, but I'm starting to learn more and I've become more and more curious on it. And that partner that I did have, I did ask him recently if he wants to explore it more. So we might go down that route. But yeah, I think they're very intriguing things. I don't know. I think it'd be fun.
When we interviewed the male submissive, he loves his chastity belt or cage, and he, it's really big in his, role as a sub for his dom.
And he'll wear it for days at a time.
Yeah,
Like,
he'll wear it for a while.
what do you say?
And
5 days, 6 days?
yeah.
Yeah.
And he says it gives
How
him
does he
like
go to
a
the
huge
bathroom?
energy boost.
I don't know. Oh, you can pee
She-
through it, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. He's
Yeah.
just like urinating all over himself.
No, I
for
think you
5
can
days.
still
No,
pee,
it
but
has a
it
hole.
makes it so
No,
yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
So like you can't
You
get
guys
hard
are
and
taking me
stuff,
way
right?
too seriously.
No,
But
but
like it was a joke. It was a joke.
but that is cool that like you said, it gives him this like huge energy boost, you know? That's
Yeah.
really-
Well, and I think, and someone mentioned this to me, I think men, if you don't come, like if you for like a few days at a time,
Makes you more
or like,
productive.
yeah, it makes you more productive. Like holding that testosterone in.
Apparently makes you more productive. I don't know.
I mean, it
Is that
definitely.
true?
Well, I mean, like if you like when dudes come, like they get pretty lethargic, like immediately afterwards.
That's
Right?
true. Yeah,
And
that's
so-
very true.
Yeah, and so but I think that maybe the same is true for women. If you're like getting worked up without that release, like you're gonna have some pent up energy. Right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I could see that.
So, what actually drove you guys to start a podcast?
So my marriage has been non-monogamous for about 4-ish years, a little bit over 4 years. And so I don't know. I just actually how it really happened was Kimi and I were talking. I had a guy over and Kimi and I were talking about something like dudes in our roster or whatever. And we were making a joke about trading dudes, even though we've like never touched the same penis, let alone like kiss the same guy. It's like a hard limit for us. But anyways, and so we were just joking around about this. And the guy that was there, he was like, you guys should start a podcast about this. And we were like, haha, yeah, no. And then a couple of weeks later, we were out with Kami's dude and his friend who produces podcasts. And he's on some pretty big shows. Anyways, and we were like, we had mentioned how one of the guys had said that, and he was like, oh, y'all should absolutely do it. He was like, here, I'm going to put you in touch with my friend who does editing, talk to him, and then, go forth. And then we were just kind of like, okay, sure, let's do it. Why not? And then I like talking about these things. Like Kami and I literally talk about it all the time, our sex lives. We're very open with each other about that. Like, I don't know if that's like normal for siblings, but like at least for the two of us. And Kami brought up a really great point the other day. We know so much about like each other's like day-to-day lives. When you catch up with friends, you're like, hey, how's it going? Like,
How's work?
how's work?
How are
And,
the
like,
dogs?
how's what things are going on. Well, we already know because like we're so integrated in each other's lives that like when we're together, what we talk about is like
the deep shit.
yeah, the very deep shit. We're like, why are you feeling this? Well, the other day I had sex with this dude and then afterwards I was crying and I think it's because I missed, like whatever that looks like. So we always have like these very deep conversations about love, sex, relationships. And so we like sharing that on the pod. We like talking about the things that we learn. We like sharing our experiences with each other. And then we were just like, well, let's just share it with the world and help others maybe find a little inspiration or learn a few things that from like what we've learned along the way. Obviously, we're not experts in any of these fields, but like we've put ourselves like in a lot of situations where we learn these kind of things and we just kind of wanted to share what we learned along the way.
It was
Yeah.
funny because we were at this little cafe in New York last weekend, and there's two girls sitting next to us and they're talking about their jobs. They're talking about like, their friends, whatever. And then this couple sitting next to us or just having small talk. And then here are Nicole and I like deep diving into like
Well, yeah, into Kami's
my-
attachment issues.
my attachment issues. And the couple next to us, they're like, that's great advice.
Yeah, they were like, that's very wise conversation there. And they were like, you should take her advice. And I was like, thank you.
Oh
Someone-
my gosh.
But then
Yeah.
it was like, but that's what made me realize. I'm like, because these two girls were just talking about, just mundane topics. And then I'm like, you and I always have, such
Yeah.
deep conversations anywhere, like
Anywhere.
just because we, we're so integrated in each other's
Yeah.
lives. So
We're the same way.
That's true. Yeah.
Good. I love that. I think that's
Yeah.
great.
I think that's amazing.
yeah,
Your response. Now, Niki, are you a pilot?
I am. Yes.
Okay, and then Cami, do you do anything?
Um, Yeah, I do.
And then like other than the podcast.
What do you do?
So,
love
and
that.
Cami, you're just pretty much like worthless, right? You just take up space, right?
I do. Actually, it's hilarious that you say that because I literally quit my job 2 months ago.
Oh, congratulations. That's so exciting. You're part of the Great Resignation. I'm so psyched for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck
Yeah,
yeah. Everyone should quit their jobs. Everyone should quit their jobs, and we should revolt
Right.
against capitalism. Let's go. Anyway, sorry.
I'm with that.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I was in one position. I'm usually like in events.
Mhm.
But once COVID hit, I ended up having to pivot. So I was a business manager for 2 dental offices. Not my passion. So I was like, I'm going to leave this job. I started with a startup and I loved the job itself, but then my boss was not the nicest person to me. So I was like, okay, I'm leaving. So then now I've been going through like a career reform as I'm doing the podcast. And then my sugar mommy here
Hi.
makes it possible. So yeah, I take up
Nice.
space right now.
That's great.
Someone please hire me.
yeah.
But yeah.
I love
I
that.
did want to take like a mental break for a little bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally get it. I mean, we're like we're doing it too. I mean, I'm living with my parents right now because of the
Yeah.
pandemic, and
Yeah.
I work hard on this podcast, and Jared's trucking along at his job.
Yeah, just grinding.
Love that.
So okay, so I feel like we talked about this, but I think you guys shared this for you, but probably a lot of our audience, like Leanna, is sort of like kink curious,
Okay.
right? Of like, well, I've always been sort of vanilla, and like, so like what advice would you have for someone who's in that space, who's like, oh, I'm wanting to kind of like explore and maybe broaden my horizons a little bit? Like, where would you tell someone to start?
The hard place, just because there's so much within kink to explore, but that's also the beauty of it too, is like I think there is something for everyone in kink, even if you don't consider yourself like super kinky. I mean, even like a foot fetish is a kink. Those kind of things are like, if you like being, if you like your ass hit during play, like that's borderline like very beginner impact play. So what I would say now, for very, very, very beginners, there's a thing called the BDSMtest.org, which is, I think, a really fun place to start, just because it asks you a lot of questions about things and
Makes you think.
Yeah, it makes you think. They're like, would you like this? And then you have to be, sit there and be like, well, maybe not. Like this sounds curious to me. This doesn't. And then towards the end, it gives you your results. And so like, and it lists out the kinks based like on the results, which is really nice. I like the format that they use. Obviously, once you get into kink and you start learning everything, like that test kind of doesn't become necessary but for brand new people, I think it's a really good way to start. But the best thing I can say is just like, find safe spaces to explore those things in. So whether that's like, a certain person or whatever, and do. Because as much as I loved reading, about kink in the beginning, and as much as I loved, kind of seeing all those fantasy books kind of lay out a variety of things, obviously I learned the most through just doing. And I've been lucky to find like really solid partners who I've been able to explore with. It takes a lot of vulnerability, takes a lot of communication. I think it's good to read some books, as well, maybe because I'm a reader. And obviously there are podcasts, like We Cover Kink, Ask a Sub is a really good one, Sub in the City. And then there are influencers too online. So like on Instagram, there's the Funny Dom, Miss Night Eyes, Ask a Sub has an Instagram, Venus Cuffs. Like there's so many resources out there where you can like at least see what's out there, and then just kind of see what you connect with. The Male Submissive is another one that we really like. So I feel like there are lots of resources for people to like get an idea of what they might be interested in. And then from there, take those things, start slow, start small, and just start exploring. That'd be my best advice.
I would say, and Reddit, you can.
Oh, Reddit too.
I would say go on Reddit, find the kinky forums, and see. Like now, granted, Reddit can be a dark space.
Well, I was gonna say I'm on the
Yeah.
BDSM subreddit, and sometimes it's an intense place.
Yeah.
So let me see if there's a beginner BDSM subreddit. But I
Or
have.
we could start one.
That's a good idea. I'm sure there's
Great
already
idea.
one.
You
I'm
should
sure
That's a
there's
do
great
it.
idea.
You
Cut
guys
that part
should.
out. It's a business idea. But anyway, I would say also look into, if you can, like, and if you have the resources to look into going, somewhere professional to learn.
Oh yeah,
Like there are kinky clubs in LA.
kinky
And
clubs, and then also like pro doms and
who do
pro
workshops.
subs. Yeah,
Nikki's
Hmm.
doms do
they do a variety of workshops. They do
Yeah.
workshops on like BDSM. They do
rope.
shibari. So one place is FetLife. That's another good place to start too, because you can find events that are like kinky kind of events to go to. But then also a lot of the pro doms are there. I love the idea of going to a professional for those kind of things, because obviously they're very well versed. They can teach you kind of like, I think, to me at least, dominance and submission, like it is an art. There's a way to like approach it. I think my submission and my dominance, I am a switch. I do both. But to me, like those are parts of myself that are like a work of art that I continuously, refine
And you don't give them
and
away to
build.
just anyone.
Exactly. So I like the thought of using a professional, just because like it can help you kind of learn in a very safe, controlled environment.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love that. I have a kink.
Okay,
hear
what
it.
is it?
I think it's a kink. But
Okay.
I realized this. I like the idea of the guy coming inside me unprotected with the possibility of impregnating me.
Breeding
Breeding
kink.
kink. Ooh,
Is
Is
yes.
it? Is that something?
Yes.
breeding kink,
I
yeah.
I have a breeding kink too. So
Okay,
I'm very,
because I don't want to be pregnant,
Yeah, same.
But you like to.
but
yeah.
it's risky.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and is it something about like the guy like couldn't help himself?
Yes.
Like the
Right.
claiming aspect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love the claiming part of
like
it.
claiming me with your
Mhm.
cum and
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
I love that.
Isn't that hot?
Yes, and it is. So it's called a breeding kink. I've heard it before called a pregnancy kink, and I don't like that one.
Yeah, that's
Or
weird.
pregnancy fetish, which I don't think. Now, fetish means you have to have it every time in order to orgasm. Kink means it's something that like can give or take, but you like to have it
Oh,
occasionally.
okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, breeding kinks are hot. That's one that I discovered maybe 2 years ago. Something like
I
that.
discovered that in college.
Really?
Yeah. Probably not the smartest.
That's great.
But
But yeah,
I
that's a
actually
kink.
love that. I just learned that there's like a Myers-Briggs test for kink. It's like
I know.
Yeah.
That's
you
like
are,
super cool.
yeah, you are 20% bratty sub or
Yeah.
something like that.
And
right?
that's literally how it will like pull it up. Yeah.
we always laugh because if you look at my test, it's like a stoplight. It's
But yeah.
red, green.
Yeah.
So it's like there's the hard nose and then the hell yes. And then with Nikki's, it looks like, opening a menu at a wing sauce, place. It's like, how it goes like from mild to hot and there's all these little in between colors.
Yeah.
That's Nikki.
Yeah.
Mm,
So
that's
Yeah.
so interesting.
Mine would be like 0%. Like maybe 1% now.
I don't know. We're
you'd
gonna
be
have to take
surprised.
it now and talk about it.
Maybe
on
I
our
should
next-
take it.
on our next
Well, I
episode.
think let's take it and then talk about it on the intro.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Done.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think you should. You might surprise yourself. I surprised myself. Because I mean, even I took it actually fairly recently, a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, and I've been
Like
kind of
8
in kink for about 4 years. So it's like I took it way in, and I knew there were a lot of things that I was interested in. So like, but there were still some things that were surprising to me. So I think there's always more to find out about yourself, because I mean it asks questions that like maybe you hadn't really asked yourself before. So then you're like, oh, and then you think about it and you answer it, and then before you know it, 20% sadist. So
Can I say something really
Yeah.
quick? Okay. So something else that I've noticed is, so like what you guys were saying about like, this is very vulnerable,
mhm.
like doing this stuff. And I already have like intimacy, vulnerable issues with sex anyway, which
Mm.
is why I think I haven't even tried to explore any of
Yeah.
it. Because I haven't really found a partner that I like truly, truly trust.
Okay.
And what I've noticed is when I masturbate, the fantasies that I masturbate to are kind of like some BDSM stuff
Oh, okay.
that I don't want a partner to do with me in like real life.
yeah.
At
So
least
it's
not
probably-
yet.
It's probably like you said, kink curiosity. It's there. You just hadn't found a safe space to explore it yet. And that's
Yeah.
understandable. And maybe one day you will find that safe space and kind of unlock that part of yourself. Like I said, I think, I mean, that vulnerability is very hard to find. We're both in a dating scene, and so we know. But it is a beautiful thing once you do find that with someone, and it's so explorative. Like with my two DOMs, at least, I've been able to like uncover so much about myself, that it really is like kind of surprising. And then you get to know those parts of yourself and get to know them even more. And it just, it's like a new like version of you that you get to like learn to love. So it's really cool. I hope
Yeah.
you find someone that makes you feel safe to explore it.
Thanks.
And I think that's super cool, right? Like this, like repressed part of ourselves when we like open those things up and like express them, like that can be like incredibly therapeutic, like
Oh yeah.
as a human, right? Well, and it's so interesting. I feel like there's such a spectrum of people because I've dated women and I've like, and I will typically, because I've been a Savage Love reader since I was like 14. So I'm like a Dan Savage, like, which is like the previous generation of like, sex and kink, like people who are writing and talking about that.
He's old.
Yeah. He doesn't look old.
Yeah.
I'm 41.
What?
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Y'all both look really young.
Yeah.
I thought like
Hey,
maybe like
It's
early
the Zoom
30s.
filter. No, it's the Zoom filter.
Really?
Wow.
Do you have a filter on?
Actually, I don't know. I was joking.
Okay.
I was like, yes, who has filters? Because I look
But
terrible
but
right now.
No, you guys look great. Are you kidding me? You both look
You
fantastic.
guys are hot.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
My double chin.
But it's so funny because like I'll ask women that I date, like I'll be like, so like, what are you into? And like so many of them like have no idea how to answer. Like they've never been asked that question. They've never like thought of that themselves. And they're like, I don't know, just like whatever. And so then I'm like, okay, well, what do you fantasize about? And then some of them don't have an answer to that question.
Wow.
And I know, isn't that a shame? So so like a question that I asked that like I think is helpful. I'm like, hey, like when you were like a teenager, do you remember like seeing a movie? Like there was like probably like a scene in a movie or something where like a dynamic between two characters in maybe an inexplicable way, like really turned you on. And like, what was it? Like, was it that she was seducing him? Was it that they were cheating together? Was it that like he was kind of like taking her, like, or what? And like, usually that can like kind of kickstart people like thinking along those lines. But I think a lot of people like don't really explore these sides of themselves.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a lot of the times, it ends up, people are shamed, like, maybe they feel shame towards it. They're like, I don't know how. Yeah, insecurity. I feel like oftentimes what I tend to see is people go into kink later in their lives when perhaps they're a little bit more confident, when they're more confident in themselves.
Yeah.
Being young and trying to do kink, you do have to have like that sense of like
self-love.
Yeah.
I mean, so for me, this is a little soapbox of mine, but I feel like if you get to a place where you accept and forgive yourself, then you start to get to a place where you love yourself. And that's when you allow yourself to explore the things that, maybe make you a little uncomfortable, or the things that you kind of feel shame towards or whatever. Because if you're willing to be like, you know what, maybe it is weird that I like knife play, but I love myself and I want to give myself an opportunity to explore this. So like, it's the biggest gift that you can give yourself, right? I think to be willing to explore something for you because it's what you want to do. So, put away the shame, the insecurities, societal norms, all those things, like put all that away and just do it for you.
I like that you brought up the fact that like, your fantasies, during masturbation would kind of, bring about like, oh, what do I want to explore?
Yeah.
I actually never.
Yeah.
When I masturbate, I have to have porn. So I don't fantasize a lot. So.
Well, but then that's the question. What kind of porn are you watching?
Lesbian. And she's bi, and I'm not, I don't know if I'm bi. So, and that's the thing. That's what I'm working on right now. I'm trying to like figure out like what am I into, like other things that I want to explore. Because I feel like sometimes while Nikki's like the one that like, oh yeah, sure, I'll try it. I'm the one that's like, I'm gonna ease my way into it.
Yeah.
So some things I'm still discovering for sure.
I don't identify as bi, but I would make out with both of you in a heartbeat.
Oh, thank you. Now you can only
I
pick
would
one.
make out with you too. See? Like kissing, I like, but when it comes to like other stuff, then I'm like, I need to explore more. So.
I'd show you what oral sex is supposed to feel like.
That's Niki loves to say that to other women.
I once
Honestly, it's probably true, right? Like I've never received oral sex that feels good ever.
Really?
Ever. It doesn't
Mm.
feel good to me. And maybe it's like for me, like stimulation, like I'm on like a medication that like calms my nerves down, right? And so I need a little bit stronger to like orgasm. So I always use a vibrator. Sometimes I can use my fingers, but it has to be me by myself in my little space. It's
Probably
like
very
too
focused.
vulnerable to very focused. So I can barely feel it when they're going down on me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No,
So
I
I
will
think I
say-
might need I might need tongue and fingers, like using it at the same time somehow, or like using a vibrator while they're going down on me. But then like some guys are weird about vibrators during sex, which is
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's like that is your teammate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Not
know.
your competitor.
I have a toy bag that I bring. If I get to a point where I want to like explore more with that person, I have a whole toy bag. But I will say like this for women, exploring women, I haven't always been good at going down on women. I've gotten a lot, I would say, at least recently, explored a lot more, but I have gotten to a point where I realize now, like, I love sex with women just because they know their parts and then yours, so like what the clit is, where it is, like things that feel good. And so then like, but not only that, like there's no penetration really, unless obviously you bring in like dildos and strap-ons and all that stuff. So there's not a focus on penetration. So then like there's a lot of focus on like oral and sensation and kissing and touching. It's like 2 to 3 hours of like foreplay, because like you're not just like getting to this goal of penetration and then like that's it. So that's what I really like about sex with women, because like it lasts so long and it's just so explorative. And most recently I was with a girl, and we were both just kind of laughing about how we were a little bit shy with each other getting to the point where we had sex. Like it's easy to jump in bed with a man because you know what to expect, and like you're, as a bi woman, if you've been with men primarily, you know what to do. It's pretty easy, P and V, like you go at it, whatever. But like with girls it's a more vulnerable spot. And so it took her and I like months. We're usually with a guy like a date or two, and we're probably having sex. Her and I, it was like a couple dates and like months of talking before we finally hooked up with each other. But it was like the best experience. I think it was like 3.5 hours long, like ridiculous. We both came multiple times. Like it was amazing. And at just the end of it, we were both like, why didn't we do that sooner?
Wow.
And I was like,